Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be me discussing all of the books that I plan on reading for the month of October. This is going to be like my spooky Halloween edition TBR. So if you'd be interested to see what books I'm going to be reading for the month of October for Halloween, then please go ahead and keep watching. Okay, so like I said, this is going to be my spooky Halloween edition. However, there's like a caveat to that. I'm a wimp when it comes to scary stuff. So while these are spooky, they're really not. I had to throw some non-spooky books in here just to kind of even it out because I don't like to be scared. I don't watch like Supernatural on TV, or I just finished watching the first season of Stranger Things because I'm a chicken. So I have 10 books on my TBR for the month of October, and about 6 of them are kind of scary, mystery, horror. I think there's one horror book, but yeah, so this is not like Stephen King It and a bunch of other scarier type books that I've heard about, so just keep that in mind. Okay. So I have 10 books, like I said, but they're all going to be, I have like 10 different categories of books. So I have one book per category. So the first book is going to be books that begin with the letter O. Now, I tried to find a Halloween thriller book that began with the letter O that I was interested in, and I could not find one. So I actually have this book, One for the Money, in my collection currently that I was like, well, that works. It'll satisfy this one book. This is a mystery. I've had this, like I said, for a while. This is a book about a woman named Stephanie Plum who's kind of down on her luck. She, lost her job, her car's getting repossessed. She had to sell off a bunch of household items to make rent. And so she's just kind of struggling. And so she decides that in order to get some money, she's going to become a bounty hunter. And she decides not only to become a bounty hunter, but to go after like the bad guy that needs to be caught. So she decides to go after this, previous cop, kind of like the big kahuna. So this book is all about her becoming a bounty hunter. This series has, I don't even know, like over 20 books in it. So this will kind of dip my toe into the Janet Ivanovich One for the Money series to see if it might be something that I want to continue. The second category is a magic user book. So I Googled on Kindle, I Googled on Goodreads to see what might satisfy that. And for magic user, there's a book called Bone Witch. So this is a fantasy book, and it is about a necromancer who is she's feared and kind of ostracized because she's a necromancer, and she wants to wield some like elemental magic, but I guess darkness kind of follows, and so it's her doing that. This is also, I think, a series. It's sort of a trilogy, so I'll be reading that. It's fantasy, it's got necromancy or necromancer. Maybe I'll pick up this trilogy or pick up the remaining 2 books in this trilogy after I read this book. So the third category is mystery to be solved. And this book I thought was perfect. So this is going to be Murder at the Book Club. So I actually just joined a local book club myself. It's the Silent Book Club. If you are interested in joining a book club that you're not required to read all the same books, you kind of meet, read whatever books you want, and then you kind of talk about it amongst your group either before or after the book club starts or ends. Check out Silent Book Club, see if you have one in your neighborhood. I like mine, it's very entertaining, so it was kind of perfect. So I just joined a book club, and the mystery to be solved for this category is Murder at the Book Club. This is a book about a murder that occurs that detectives end up leading them back to this book club. And so there's, I guess, lies and deceptions and like, a normal mystery book. But in the description of this book, it says that there's a twist that kind of shakes things up. So I'm interested to see what that is and see what the twist is. So we'll be checking out that book. The fourth category that I'm going to be reading is inspired by true events. this book has been on my Kindle Unlimited downloads for a while, and I've just been too scared to read it. This is a nonfiction book. Nonfiction, you know, I like fantasy and I like fiction because, you know, you get to read about these fictional bad guys and, you know, it's all made up, right? Nonfiction, specifically nonfiction that is about horrific things, kind of shakes me to the core because I'm a person who looks for the good in everybody, and knowing that there's bad people out there, it kind of unnerves me and rattles me up. So this book is called If You Tell. This is a book about two daughters who are tortured and tormented, and all these bad abuse things happen. The person who's doing them is their mother. Like I said, it's been on my Kindle for a while. I've wanted to read it. I've just been too scared to. So this has abuse. It even says it has psychic terrors in the description. I don't know what that is. I don't know what a mother does that has psychic terrors, but it's about, you know, two daughters that have to figure out how to get away from their mom, and I guess there's murders that take place. I guess their mother kills people. I don't know, so we'll see. That is definitely a book that I'm very nervous to read because it just sounds horrible, but we'll see. The fifth book that I'm going to be reading is a book that has the word spell in it, and so after Googling, I've decided that I'm going to read The Raven Spell. This is a fantasy book, and the description says it's in Victorian England, and it's about a witch and a detective that are on the hunt for a serial killer, and it's about magic and murder, and it seems something that is going to be very interesting to read. So I'll be reading this book in October to satisfy the book with spell in it. Okay, the sixth category book is a book to read before bed. Honestly, this could be any of my books because the majority of my book reading occurs after my kids go to bed and before I go to bed. So basically all of these books would satisfy that requirement. But I did pick up this book when I was doing my Google search, and it sounds like something that would be really interesting to read, and that is Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. So this is a fantasy book, and this says that his mother was stricken by a sickness or disease called milk sickness, and he later finds out that the fatal affliction or sickness that his mom had was actually the work of a vampire. And so the synopsis says that Abraham Lincoln, sets out on a path of vengeance that leads him all the way to the White House. The seventh book that I'm going to be reading is a book about murder, and again, that task could satisfy several of the books that I'm reading right now or that are on this list, but I have decided I'm going to choose The Killing Lesson. This I picked up at Second and Charles a while ago. It's been in my collection and I've just been waiting to read it. So this book is a thriller / mystery, and from what I was kind of Googling, it's about a pair of serial killers that are kind of just going along killing all these women and these people, and one of the groups that they killed actually left a 10-year-old alive, and so it's detectives kind of working with this 10-year-old who survives the killing, and it's them trying to catch the bad guys. Okay. So the eighth book is a orange colored book, and so this book was also kind of hard for me to nail down because I googled orange covers, and Goodreads does have a lot of books that will come up if you Google orange covers, but none of them really interest me. However, I did see this book is the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I have seen this book mentioned in other book talk videos, and I've heard it was really good. So this is a fantasy book, and it is a book about a book club that kind of bands together to basically kill this vampire that's tormenting their town, from what I gather. So people did say that there's a lot of trigger warnings with this book, and I googled it, and there are a bunch of trigger warnings. So if you're interested in it, make sure you check those out. Some of them that came up are child abuse. Apparently that's like a big trigger warning that happens a bunch. There's animal death and mutilation, domestic abuse, rape, and a bunch of other ones. So there's a bunch of stuff that goes on within this book. So if you're concerned about that, definitely check out the trigger warnings before you pick up this book. I'm really interested to read it, and I think while it's not orange, it's kind of got peaches that it looks like. It's kind of orange, so I really wanted to read it, and I'm gonna make it fit. The 9th book that I'm gonna be reading is a book that has a scary movie with it also. Obviously Stephen King has a bunch of scary movies inspired by those books. I did not want to pick up a Stephen King book. I have heard he's very descriptive, and I don't like descriptive authors. I don't want to read a page and a half about the forest and the trees and the leaves and all of that. I've heard he's very descriptive. I don't want to read all that, so I'll get bored, and it's not something that interests me. Plus, I've heard his books are very scary, and like I said at the very beginning of this video, I'm a wimp. The book that I'm going to read is The Silence of the Lambs. So I have actually already seen this movie, and it is scary, but it's not like jump scare scary like I think some Stephen King movies are. I already watched the movie, so I know kind of what the book's gonna be about. But essentially what it is you have Clarice Sterling, who's an FBI agent, who is kind of working with this serial killer who's in jail, named Dr. Lecter, Dr. Hannibal Lecter, and he's a serial killer that was caught, and he would end up eating his victims. So Clarice is meeting with Dr. Lecter to kind of get underneath and understand the mind of a current serial killer that is out there killing women, named Buffalo Bill. So it's a story about those 3 main characters, Clarice, Hannibal Lecter, and Buffalo Bill. And Clarice wants to catch, or everybody kind of wants to catch, Buffalo Bill, because he's out there killing a bunch of women. And then the last book that I'm going to be reading for the month of October, this one is not a scary movie. Like I said, I had to kind of balance out some of these scarier type books, and I decided that the 10th category is books with the word night in the title. And so I chose The One Night. So this is a romance book. It's about a girl named Nora and a guy named Cooper who meet at the bar, and Cooper is Nora's best friend's ex-husband. And so they meet at the bar. Apparently they kind of hit it off, sparks fly, and it's, a romance, so it's gonna be them getting together, and then the tension, I guess, of the best friend and Nora and all of that. So that is gonna be all the books I'm gonna read for the month of October. If you have stuck around this far, please make sure to put me down in the comments description. Put like a ghost emoji or something just to let me know that you got this far. And also, if you're reading any kind of scary, not super scary, but scary books for the month of October, let me know, and I want to see if there's any that I might be interested in. With that, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and drop me that comment. Let me know what books you're reading for this Halloween season, and I will be seeing everybody in my next video. Bye. Also, I do have this. This is actually my daughter's book that she got at one of her book fairs. I don't know who remembers this book from, like, I know whenever I was in middle school, this was like the book to have. Like the illustrations, high beams, and then these illustrations used to be like crazy. I'm also going to be reading these in October just to remind myself on some of these short stories, because I haven't read them in so long, and I think this would be perfect to read to kind of get into this spooky, scary spirit. And then look who I found. I found him at Target along with Oogie Boogie and her.